This video is sponsored by John, Jordan, and Rebecca Robinson. Thanks, guys.
Assalamu alaikum, bitches!
So I was gathering material for a new video like I do, and I couldn't help but notice how most of it had to do with women. Then came the straw that broke the camel's back, so instead this video will be entirely dedicated to life in Egypt as a woman, the bullshit they put up with, and the oppression and violence. Oh, and by the way, the following news were grossly eclipsed and overshadowed by news about elections and other political shit shows currently happening. So in my last video I said, the only one pro left for Egypt right now is that your odds of catching a bullet in your day-to-day life are low, unless you're a woman. Well, fast forward a little over a week, 2 women get fucking shot. You can't make this shit up, like. At this point, I can't help but laugh at the absurdity of it. What else can we do, really? Like, you either laugh or you cry. It's as if Egypt heard this and was like, alright, hold my fucking ass up. So the first crime was in broad daylight in Cairo University on campus. The murder of a female employee at the Faculty of Archaeology in Cairo University by gunshots from another employee inside the youth scared building, and his escape. Prosecution orders him to be swiftly detained and brought in, according to local news outlets. Before anything, I want to just point out that multiple news outlets reporting on the incident have some discrepancies, like the number of shots. Some have reported 4, some 6. I don't think that really matters much, like the details don't make any difference. I just wanted to point this out. So there are 2 interesting things about this, and I use the term interesting very, very loosely here. The first thing is that this is an older age group now. So far, all crimes of this sort have been younger people, early 20s or so. Some people have made the argument that, oh, it's just kids, man, they don't know what they're doing, to say that it isn't a general societal problem. I guess that argument falls short this time, huh? This woman was almost 30 and her killer was in his 30s. The second thing is that it happened on campus, in an administration building. If you recall, a year or so ago in Mansoura, when Nayera was being physically assaulted in front of the university and nobody did shit until she had her throat slit, some people made the argument to defend the useless security standing by the gate that this was off campus, so it's not their job. Which, like, yeah, I guess technically and legally it's not their job, but for a society that talks hella big game about their morals, that's a rather shitty thing to do, isn't it? Whatever the fuck happened to al-amr bil-ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar? Or does that only apply to sex and relationships? Regardless, this argument cannot be made for this, as this was done in the bowels of the campus. Investigation revealed that he was her work colleague but got expelled for poor behavior, and that he had proposed to her 8 years prior and got rejected. He set her car on fire 5 years ago for the same reason. Oh yeah, that's also a thing that happened. Bro set her car on fire and managed to stay loose for 5 more years, and managed to go to his former workplace from which he got expelled with a gun in hand and did the thing. Do you see what I mean when I say law here doesn't mean shit? Until when will women have to pay for saying no with their lives? And what is the true solution that can stop these crimes if what's already being done isn't enough? Some people have suggested death sentences, but as I previously mentioned, that has been done already to the first perpetrator of this kind, and it didn't seem to stop it. If anything, people made him a martyr and now follow in his footsteps, evident by the surge in crime against women since. But maybe if it actually was applied to every single case, it could work, because as far as I know, only the first one had it done to him. I've seen literally over 10 other similar cases since, and never heard any follow-ups or capital punishments being dished out. Rejected 5 years ago. No, it was actually 8. 5 is when he set her car on fire. And it's still hung on her. I don't understand this upbringing. Guys who aren't used to rejection, why do they assume they will get anything they want? May God take revenge on him. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the root of the problem, or part of it anyway. Men here have ridiculous entitlement, which they are brought up with. The other part of the problem is the superiority they are made to feel over women, whether explicitly through favoritism over his sisters, them being forced to be servants to him, or whatever the fuck else goes on in these sick households, sex being a shame for them but a source of pride for men, or marriage being essentially a transaction between the man and the girl's parents, in which he might not even have a say whatsoever despite being the goods, or implicitly through the way society and religion treat women here, being forced to cover up, being legally and professionally inferior, etc. So this entitlement, coupled up with the dehumanization of women, are bound to lead to this. Something along those lines. A fired employee getting through the university gate with a gun says a lot. A girl getting slain at the gate of a university and another getting shot inside it. It's getting scarier. Both didn't get their rights by law, both weren't protected, and both died. This is referencing to Nayera Ashraf and this specific case. There are so many more, of course. Women have always been killed by the hands of men. This isn't new. What's new is that we're talking about crimes in the middle of the street in broad daylight, and today within the campus of the most important and oldest university in Egypt with a freaking gun. Like, there should be at least an investigation with the security. Which is also a great point that someone else further elaborates on. This should have the security of the university tried, and the whole Ministry of Internal Affairs, not just the killer. It has been revealed from security investigations in Giza that the culprit had previously worked in the university and had set her car on fire 5 years prior, and got suspended from the university for poor behavior. Despite all that, he showed up this morning and shot her 4 times. Judicial systems in other countries gave the defense of the victim the right to sue all who caused or shirked in their work, facilitating the murder, or shirked in protection, especially if the victim had previously complained. And of course, they can request financial compensation, which is what disciplines the people responsible and ensures they don't embarrassingly fail at their work like it is here in Egypt. While all of this is fair and the way it should be, good fucking luck suing the state here. Best case scenario, it takes forever and ends up costing more than whatever you're gunning for. Worst case scenario, you disappear. Waiting for the ass-kissers who will sympathize with the killer. There aren't that many, but as we saw with Nayera Ashraf, it was similar to this at first, and then all of a sudden he was held as a martyr and even had a fundraising campaign to bail his ass out. So I wouldn't get too hopeful about this society just because the majority are outraged by this just yet. Let's wait and see the man's confession. So long as women are using their heads and running around taking advantage of men, talking to multiple, telling this one I love you and that one I love you, she is bound to come across a guy whose life she destroys. Him being not very smart will end her life. Everyone deals with the consequences of their own actions, and he will also surely get executed. My dude, my guy. Even if that was the case, nothing justifies murder. Another thing is that guys also do that. Does that give women permission to murder them? It shouldn't. And even if they started doing it, I bet you the law and society would suddenly act up, and then men would be the victim and might even start retaliating for the violent response they insistently provoked. Audacity be like. Another thing is that putting the blame on the victim is shitty regardless of circumstances. While the point may have some validity to it, this isn't the time or the way you say this. And no, he will probably not be executed like the other bajillion ones haven't. Only one asshole got what's his so far because he happened to be the first and because it happened to blow the fuck up. Also, unrelated, but I find it entertaining that this account has his pick and name. Bro got a nice roasting from others. It feels like vomit in the form of a comment. Go get help, huh? What are you saying? Seriously, I swear I'm not voting for you. Okay, just shut up. Where did you get this from? My ass? Promise me you'll get help. Sir, it's wrong to bash the victim while complimenting the perpetrator. You should be ashamed of yourself. Nicely done, Mr. President. I don't know if this is sarcasm or not, it looks like it. I hope it is. Seriously, God gets revenge on you. Shut up, you motherfucking son of a whore. Shut up, shut up, motherfucker. There are assholes on both sides, but fuck the timing of your comment and the shit in your brain, which is the point I was just making. What can you expect from someone who loves... You're a despicable son of a filthy bitch. And another ass kisser said, the man who gets played by a woman and taken advantage of, that's definitely his problem. Which is like, true, generally. But I don't like how it's insinuating she played him. We don't know anything about that. Besides, bro has been on her ass for 8 fucking years and set her car on fucking fire. So you tell me who's playing who. So halfway through prepping this video, some more details came out about the incident. The victim is called Nurhan and worked as a sports specialist in the Faculty of Archaeology. The killer is called Ahmed H and was also a specialist there. It says here again that he proposed to her and got rejected but persisted and set her car on fire, as one does with his out-of-reach crush. But it adds that he was bothering her with messages. It also says that she sustained 6 shots instead of 4, but as I said, that doesn't really matter much beyond proving how obsessive he is. It also adds that he fled with his car. Another report says that the Ministry of Internal Affairs claims that the culprit killed himself before he was arrested, which I don't really believe. There would be more details if it was true, and this whole thing seems like someone was complicit. Getting the gun past security for one is rather suspicious. And also this comment points out a good point. 5 years ago, had he been sentenced to 10 years in jail after burning her car and the threat messages he sent her, she wouldn't have been killed. In America, Canada, and the West in general, one threat message or violent act, if proven on you, you would be spending long years in prison. The fact he got away so easily with that and the suspicious news about him killing himself makes me believe he knows someone somewhere who enabled him to do the thing and then cover up for him. But that's just speculation on my part.
I'm going to find whoever did this.
How did he enter the university with a gun? Which is a great question. I can easily answer it for you. Security in universities are closer to moral police than actual fucking security. Boys are not let in with shorts. Ripped jeans have been banned for a while now, and the security are the ones responsible for enforcing it, which they do. If you're a guy with long hair, and you have it loose, you might also not be let in. Same for a girl if she has some crazy hairstyle. And by crazy, I mean anything other than a ponytail or it being let loose. And obviously, girls who are wearing immodest clothes. Immodest by their definition, which can vary widely depending on the guy running the gate that day. Other than that, you could probably sneak in a fucking bazooka if you stuff it in a bag without looking suspicious. Based off my own experience in my own university, I can confirm that. There is no metal detector, which I would be fine with if they didn't have them literally everywhere else, at museums, at temples, even fucking hotels, so why not here too? And there is usually just one or two guys at the gate, sometimes nobody at all. And the most I've ever been questioned by them on the first time going there after a long ass break, like nobody knew me, I was asked to show ID and my ID from a previous year worked. Oh, and the time I had my hair down and puffed out, he had me put it up. To that same effect, here's a decree from the higher up clowns regarding dress code in Alexandria University, Faculty of Medicine. I'ma translate it all for you because this shit is honestly hilariously infuriating. The rules of dress code on campus. As with everything, there is a time and place. Each place has a look that suits the core and level, and since the campus is a place with sanctity akin to a sanctuary for science, and particularly if that science is medicine, and because the students of the Faculty of Medicine are the doctors of the future, they also make up the wise of the future. And the Faculty of Medicine in Alexandria University ensures to maintain respect for the customs and traditions of university, where each student in the Faculty of Medicine represents this ancient entity. Therefore, all students must adhere to the professional rules of the students of medicine and the moral rules for university students, part of which is the exterior look. Consequently, all students must adhere to the following during their presence on campus and in all facilities belonging to the college, whether in lecture halls, hospitals, field visits, college visits, or otherwise. Examples of the external features that are considered inappropriate to wear on campus: see-through or short clothes and sleeveless shirts, sport head covers, extremely short pants, shorts and pants with low waist, clothes that are ripped by design, designer cute, couldn't even fucking spell it right, inappropriate hairstyles for males and females, inappropriate accessories for males and females, sports clothes like sweatpants, clothes with inappropriate phrases that do not align with the morals of the campus written on it, as well as clothes with inappropriate phrases that do not align with the morals of campus printed on them, as well as clothes with inappropriate images printed on them, galabayas for males, open shoes and flip-flops, sandals are allowed for girls whenever appropriate, excessive use of makeup and fragrances, soiree makeup. I don't fucking know who's going to college with soiree makeup on, but sure, whatever.
I don't want to do this no more.
Use of nail polish and not trimming them appropriately, where long or improperly trimmed nails could negatively affect patients in the clinical phase or the devices that the students practice on in the skilled lab. Hair, mustache, and beards that are not trimmed with care. Tattoos or showing the body. Signed, Vice Dean for Student and Tuition Affairs, Professor Iman Youssef. Let me point out a few things. First, this could not have been possibly timed worse. A woman just got fucking shot in Cairo University, and this bitch over here is listing all the banned physical appearances in her university. The second thing is that this verbal diarrhea was shat out by a woman. Just to show you that retardation doesn't discriminate, it can affect all people equally.
Attention! If you or a loved one was diagnosed with
retardation,
you may be entitled to financial compensation.
retardation
Is linked to
Egypt.
exposure. Exposure to
Egypt and Egypt.
may have put you at risk. Please don't wait. Call
1-4-2069-A7A
for a free legal consultation and financial information packet.
Third, this clown shit and the murder happened in the biggest and oldest two universities in Egypt. You would expect this shit from somewhere in the south, since their reputation is that they're less progressive and shit, but apparently it's all just about equally fucked. Fourth, this decree, or whatever you want to call this garbage, is garbage. The introduction is unnecessary, unnecessarily long, and unprofessionally formulated. Like, this shit belongs in a book, not an official document. Fifth, the little English parts in this are definitely not the level you would want to see from the fucking vice dean of a big university like that. Lower and uppercase letters are seemingly used at random, and she even made a fucking typo. She meant to say designer cuts, but somehow said designer cute. And also, sweatpants is one word, dumbass. The only semi-valid point is the thing about nails being long and maybe messy beards, since this is medicine. Everything else is invasion of personal freedom. And last but not least, she forgot to mention not to bring fucking weapons to college, so I guess that is still fine. Seriously, like, couldn't you at least release a fucking warning or anything for the woman who just got killed before this bullshit? Oh, and also, the word appropriate that she kept using is subjective as fuck. It doesn't give any clear idea what is allowed and what isn't. As I've always said, looks matter before anything, so we have to look pious, religious, and conservative, and to do so, they enforce this shit. And this kind of rules are the only type they actually enforce diligently. Fuck protecting people's life, especially if they're a woman. Protecting our reputation and outlook is far more important. Someone went in with a gun yesterday, so they banned manicures. This just about sums it up, honestly. Like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? Are you even with us in the same country? On the same planet? Egypt has witnessed yesterday evening a new shocking crime similar to Nayira Ashraf's incident. Passers-by were startled in one of the streets in the Ubur residential area in Medinat Nasr, east of Cairo, Tuesday evening by a young man shooting a girl walking down the street who dropped dead. Security services received reports of the incident in which eyewitnesses report that while the girl was leaving her work, a man stopped her and an argument ensued between them which resulted in him shooting her. Investigations revealed that the man, who is called Ali and is 26 years old, was in a relationship with the girl who was called Shayma and was 24 years old, and they were engaged years ago, but for disagreements between them, the girl decided to break up and annul the engagement. The culprit tried to get back with his ex-fiancée, but she and her family rejected strongly, so he decided to end her life. Additionally, it's been revealed that the man had been stalking his ex-fiancée to learn her routine after work. He waited for her in the street and stopped her, asking to get back together. Locals caught the culprit, who tried to shoot them, but one of the locals shot him, injuring him until security forces arrived and arrested him. The public prosecution has ordered to withhold the girl's body in Heliopolis Hospital for dissection and requested information about the health of the culprit to identify the possibility of interrogating him and also ordered investigations by security services around the incident. Egypt has witnessed similar murders due to love and engagement annulments. A similar incident in Sharqiyya where Salma Muhammad Bahgat met her demise by stabbing and slaughter by her colleague in the Faculty of Media after her family rejected her relationship with him for his bad behavior. The village of Tukh Tanabsha witnessed a young man called Ahmad Fathi Umaira murdering a girl by gunshots, where it was found that he was in a relationship with her but his family rejected it, so he was forced to kill her, then killed himself with the same weapon, and his body was found the day following the murder. In Boursaid, a young man strangled his fiancée to death in the middle of the street, where passers-by were surprised to see a young man holding a girl and assaulting her, kicking and slapping her, then strangling her with both hands until she suffocated. After investigation, it was found that the girl was called Khulud al-Sayyid Farouk Darwish, was 20 years old, and the killer is called Muhammad Samir Ahmad, and they were soon to get married. TLDR, man gets rejected, persists, and gets rejected again, so he chooses the woman. And this has been and will keep happening for the foreseeable future. I didn't even know about any of the ones mentioned towards the end, aside from Nayira, of course. In my last video, I did a report on a murder in Boursaid, but it was her brother, and it was with a knife, so that's a different one. What the fuck is going on in Boursaid, man? In less than 24 hours, a guy shot and killed his ex-fiancée in the street in Medinat Nasr, and another shot and killed a female employee in Cairo University. The madhouse gets madder each day. Why are people even walking with weapons in the streets, all normal, like casually shooting people? How is this a regular piece of news? It's not really news that people got blades on them, but guns are a new high. It's not easy to get guns here, at least not legally. You have to have a cause for it, like property or a profession that requires it. Apparently not though. I guess that's what we get for making fun of America. The solution? We must give lessons on how to not worship women or leave your heart with someone, whoever they may be. The world has 4 billion women. It doesn't stop on anyone. You were this close, man. I don't necessarily like the wording here, but I do agree with the idea. The obsession with women is a huge part of the problem, but to fix the issue, men should be taught how to handle rejection first. Nearly all these crimes are committed by men unable to accept rejection, and few of them were even murder-suicides. So I think the first step is to be like, it's okay, bro. You shot your shot and missed, or just picked the wrong target. Then we can be like, there's plenty of other fish in the sea. Let it go, bro. And like, rejection doesn't even necessarily mean you're a bad person. A failed relationship doesn't automatically mean either or both people are bad. Maybe they're just incompatible, which I understand has a stigma around it. Anyway, that's a whole other topic for another day. Let's not get sidetracked. I really can't comprehend these events that are happening. There is no more security. Like, how come anyone who's upset with another or has a problem with them just goes and kills them? What? Is there no law? People are now walking around with weapons in the streets. All normal. Anyone who doesn't like another just goes and kills them. This society has become so severely mentally ill. Moral of the story, weapon licensing for women is necessary, which I agree with actually. I even made a whole video on it previously, on an incident where a woman did fight back and did succeed in scaring off her assailant. Egypt needs an Islamic opening. This isn't normal what's happening in it, for real. Sure bro, I'm sure that would totally fix it, like it has fixed it for Iran, Saudi Arabia, and a bunch of others. More of the disease that's causing it. That's exactly what we need right now. I get that antidotes are made with a mild dose of the venom and vaccines with a mild dose of the pathogen, but this is not the same. The whole reason men here are so despicable is because of Muslim upbringing. It breeds narcissism in them, which leads to this. I'll take, bro. Guys, didn't men used to shoot themselves or jump in the Nile? Who messed with the settings? This is so fucking dark and fucked up, but I have to say it's funny. Definitely a joke I can see myself making. We're at like the late stage of incelhood, is that a word? First, their inability to cope with rejection did manifest in them getting depressed and suicidal, but now with living conditions getting worse and consequently civilization and culture going to shit, they're turning to violence. The sons of bitches who made a hero from the piece of shit that killed Nayera are directly responsible for the continuous public killing of women. I can't believe that these have become normal incidents that recur casually. I called it a year ago when it first happened, didn't I? I hate that I was right. I wish Egypt would just stop being the way it is, man. You know, this fucking sucks. Like, my mom's thankfully old enough to be relatively safe from this shit, but I have a young sister and day by day I get worried for her more and more. So many of these women who lost their lives didn't even do anything wrong or even put themselves in the way of it. Like, what the fuck are you supposed to do about someone seeing you and taking a liking to you? And no, covering up doesn't stop that before any shitheads comment that. Many of these women wore hijab and dressed modestly. Not that it should matter, but even that didn't stop sick individuals from doing their sick thing. Another thing that went down while I was in the middle of making this video is a third fucking crime within 24 hours of the other two. I guess Egypt is going for a world record or something. A man ends his ex-wife's life in El Amraniya after he finds out she got engaged. Allegedly, this motherfucker found out his wife, who divorced him, got engaged to another man, so he came to the conclusion that she was in a relationship with her new fiance while she was married to him and divorced him for that reason. Now, this could be true, we don't know, but that is definitely not an excuse to get violent, let alone commit a murder. And, like, I get it. It sucks to see your ex with someone else. It's part of human nature. But that's no excuse either. We have fucking brains to control our instincts and basic impulses. Like, come on! To wrap up with the topic of blood, someone posted a compilation of women who got murdered in Egypt in the past 40 days, and the fact the words compilation and murders are together in one sentence about such a short time interval is so goddamn shameful for this society. Dua, aged 18, in El Nuzha district, Dua's husband killed her with boiling water and claimed at first that she burned herself with the water. Sarah, a married woman in Sharqiyya, aged 27, was killed by her husband's brother after he tried to assault her and escape. At first, her mother and sister-in-law were suspected, but investigations proved that the brother was the killer. Farida was a girl in Bor Said who was slain in the street by her brother because she got engaged to someone without his agreement. This particular one was reported on in detail in my previous video, if you're interested. Sayyida Awsim, I don't know the name, nicknamed Hanan, due to disagreements between her and her husband, who works as a driver because of her refusal to make him dinner. He choked her out and denied it at first. Iman, aged 20, in Munsha'at al-Anatir, Iman paid with her life for an argument between her and her husband, where he strangled her with a scarf until she died, and then reported that he was waking her up, but she wasn't responding. And then the last two are the ones previously reported on in this video. In a previous video of mine, I talked about a woman who got harassed during a power cut. Well, almost 3 months later, we now have an update from her, and it turns out it became a very big deal because the perpetrator is the son of an army colonel.
اللي حصل ان انا في شهر 7 اللي فات كنت مروحة بيتي. انا ساكنة في الدور ال13. الكهرباء كانت قطعة. سألت الحارس هي الكهرباء قطعة بقالها كتير. قال لي لا. قلت له طب تفتكر هتيجي امتى؟ قال لي معرفش، يعني تقريبا نص ساعة. فقلت له خلاص استنى على الشقه بالله، وقلت هطلع السلم. بين الدور الاولاني والتاني قابلني جاري واتحرش بيا السلم. المهم انا صوتت ونزلت جري وراه وطلبت النجدة وكلمت اصحابي.
Up to this point was all the info that was provided on the matter at the time of my previous report.
فلما النجدة جت طلبوا الولد، فنزلت مامة الولد قالت لهم انا فلانة مرات العقيد فلان الفلاني بنت اللواء فلان الفلاني.
This right here is why she can never win this battle, and her even calling out for help and taking action puts her and her family at risk. The military here are untouchable, simple as that. They're the elite of society, and the only possible way they could be touched is by one of them higher in rank and power. I mean, we've seen it. I avoid reporting on these instances as to not draw attention to my channel, but over the past few months, I remember 3 distinct instances of military individuals committing extreme violations of law, and they know it too, which is why they don't give a fuck who witnesses what from them, as you're about to see.
الكلام ده كان قدام ضباط الشرطة وقدام الحارس. بعد ما عرفتهم هي مين وبنت مين ومرات مين، قامت لفة وشتمتني بأقذر الألفاظ فجأة. فأنا ما ردتش عليها خالص. أنا أصلا كنت في صدمة تانية، منهارة عياط تماما، فما ردتش عليها. وصل أبو الولد، أول ما وصل قال لي هو إيه اللي حصل؟ قلت له أنا مش هتكلم هنا، أنا هتكلم في الاسم. فهددني بقى في وسط الناس كلها، أنا هدلك البيت ده. هددني إن هو يهدلي بيتي. وبعدين طلعنا على الاسم، عملت المحضر تاني يوم في النيابة. أنا طبعا يعني لكل الناس اللي عارفة أنا بابايا توفى من 2 وعايشين في البيت ده أنا وأمي لوحدنا.
This here is another reason she was targeted and so aggressively attacked even after the fact. If you have no man, you have no back. A dog to keep the other dogs away, as my mom likes to put it.
فأنا بعد ما خلصت التحقيق بتاع النيابة قلت لمدير النيابة من فضلك أنا عايزة حاجة تحميني أنا وأمي، لأنه أنا مش ضامناهم، أنا مش ضامنة الناس دي. فقال لي ما تقلقيش طالما في محضر محدش يقدر يعمل لك حاجة.
This case of course doesn't mean shit. It hardly ever gets enforced, and the 1 in 20 times when it does, it's civilians squabbling among themselves. Even if the prosecution wanted to enact it, which I doubt they did, but even if they did, they can't. Police is below military, and considering that the family has a major general and a colonel in it, not only do they probably have contacts, they likely are the fucking contacts.
اخويا وامي دخلوا مدخل العماره، امي لما شافته رجعت وقفت ورا اخويا، امي كانت واقفه ورا اخويا ماسكه تليفونها، فقام الراجل مدد ايده على امي جايبها من رقبتها سحلها في الارض وضربها وقعد يقول لها انا هموتك وانا هعمل واسوي، وقعد يشتمها. امي هي اللي اتضربت وهي اللي اتشتمت وهي اللي حاول يخنقها، مكان ايديه بقى معلم على رقبتها.
There's this general idea here that when you have beef with someone, you have beef with their whole family. If you can't reach the person you're beefing with directly, a member of their family will do. Bonus that it's the mom in this case, since it's her responsibility. You have families that have blood feuds in rural areas for generations on end, and even the system does this. If a political figure flees the country and is wanted or stirs shit up and becomes wanted, any existing family of theirs here are arrested or at least put on forced stay in the country to blackmail the wanted person to come back. In extreme cases, said family is killed, which has happened before with certain figures that I will not be naming for no particular reason. Additionally, you have this idea that if you do something to someone else, it will be done back to your own people. In reference to harassment, you often hear the phrase, "Stop bro, it'll be paid back to you and your mother or sister." Sort of like karma, but instead it's Allah's justice. At least in their eyes, in reality it's just statistics, because anyone with boobs has to deal with that at some point in some capacity. So it's bound to happen, whether you do it or not. Also, it's interesting how it's suddenly fine to beat women. Not so long ago when I was growing up, I was told it's wrong and haram, maybe with the exception being women in your family.
امي عملت محضر تاني وعملنا تقرير طبي باللي حصل لها، ورحنا النيابه وتحقق مع امي، وفضلنا بقى بعدها اسبوعين كده افاجئ بانه النيابه بتكلمني تاني عايزيني تاني اروح علشان هما غيروا اقوالهم. مامة الولد غيرت اقوالها. طبعا بقى اتحكى لي قصه مختلفه تماما، وزاد ناس ما كانتش موجوده اصلا في الواقعه، ولا ناس كانت موجوده بعد الواقعه. المحضر في النيابه زي ما هو ما اتحركش.
That's the point where the strings had been pulled and contacts had been used. There's really nothing to do from here on out. Just let it go, move elsewhere, and pray they also let it go, which I cannot even fathom the amount of oppression and injustice she must be feeling right now. Like, you can even hear it in her voice. She's crying. So fucked up, man. My heart breaks for her and for her poor mom. This reminds me of that scene in that one movie, Abu Ali, where the officer tells the guy writing the case report blatant lies about the suspect while looking him directly in the eyes.
انتوا مش عايزين تعترفوا ليه؟
مش لما تعترف انت الاول يا باشا.
انت بتضربه ليه؟ مش من حقك تضربه. انا شاهده ان هو ما كانش معاه مسدس، وان الرصاصه دي خارجه من مسدس الضابط.
سعادتك الكلام ده قالوه في المحضر، بس انا حقهم يقولوا اللي هم عاوزينه، والنيابه بقى تشوف شغلها. المهم احنا نشوف شغلنا. عملت محضر الضبط؟ ضبط ايه سعادتك؟ معقول يا باشا؟ معقول؟ ده انت قديم. اكتب عندك إنه في تمام الساعة 1 من ظهر يوم الاثنين الموافق، اكتب تاريخ النهاردة، قامت قوة من مباحث اسم الدقي برئاسة الرائد، اكتب اسم الباشا، بإلقاء القبض على المطلوبين، اكتب أساميهم الثلاثية.
اللي بتكتبه ده يا باشا؟
احنا ما حدش قبض علينا.
أثناء اختبائهم في أحد الأوكار الموجودة على سطح العمارة رقم 7 شارع حسين كمال بين السرايات، فور تلقينا بلاغ من بواب العمارة أبو النجا محمد أحمد، وقد حاول المتهمان الهرب، ولكن القوة تعاملت معهم وأجبرتهم على الاستسلام.
انا وامي بره البيت بقالنا شهرين. بالنسبه بقى للافكار البناءه اللي الناس كلها بتقولها لي، ما تخافيش وارجعي بيتك ومحدش يقدر يعمل حاجه. يعني ما هم قدروا هم قدروا يعملوا حاجة، هم قدروا وأوحش من كده ايه اللي هيحصل. والنيابة اللي كانت بتقولي ما تخافيش وما تقلقيش وانتوا زي أهلنا، والله أنا بقالي شهرين برا بيتي.
That is obviously clown shit. You can't rely on that. If she does go back, she is likely to get raped and or killed. That's the worst fucking thing she could possibly do, and I genuinely hope she doesn't. I also hope for justice for them, but I think that's too ambitious for the time being. Pains me to say this, but this is just one of many. She was brave enough to speak out and take action, and smart enough to move away when danger came. Others are not as brave and face abuse in silence, and others are not as fortunate to be able to get away if they do speak out. I don't know what to say anymore. So there's this influencer slash model from Egypt called Salma El-Shimi. Now, I'll be the first to say that her content is out of the usual for Egypt, being rather immodest. And her appearance and wardrobe choices are also not exactly conventional, but that's fine. Nothing in the official law says anything against it, right? Right? It didn't. Not until 2018 anyway, in an instance that no previous president has dared to do in 2018 under the totalitarian system of... A law has been legislated for transgressions against the values of the Egyptian family, by which Salma El-Shimi is now held prisoner, following many other girls simply for having accounts on social media. One such girl was arrested like a year or so ago for dancing on TikTok and was charged with this bullshit and somehow also a human trafficking charge, which was not true of course, and the whole thing was a big old stinker back then. Now this girl is the most recent victim for this garbage. Now say what you will about her content or about her person, but that is the basic freedom of expression. She is not even making porn, which should also be illegal and happens at large in Egypt of course, but in secret. It's just a modeling account, so you're telling me a woman showing some skin and having implants offends these so-called family values, but incels and crazy exes running around murdering women doesn't? Are you fucking kidding me? I'm not done yet. There's a bunch more shit to talk about, but this video is getting out of hand, so I'm gonna call it here. Expect part 2 to come out soon. If you don't want to miss it, make sure to subscribe, and while you're at it, like the video, maybe comment something if you got something to comment. You can also donate to me through the link in the description, which helps me towards my goal of getting the fuck out of this shithole. Thanks, and I'll see you guys soon.
I hate this place, this zoo, this prison, this reality, whatever you want to call it. I can't stand it any longer.